Chafing Armor, Episode 5.
Below.
Welcome back to the Chafing Armor Podcast. I'm your host and Dungeon Master, Michael Corley. With me today is Izzy. Izzy, tell everyone who you are playing.
I'm playing Morezi Mugraw, the impulsive and leader-like half-orc barbarian.
Excellent. And Dare, tell everyone who you are playing.
I'm playing Tix Birchmanson, a cleric that is kind of world-weary of other people and tall people especially, but is looking forward to a nice little adventure.
And finally, James, tell everybody who you are playing.
Hello, I'm playing Penton Chalice, the prettiest skull-covered spellcaster you ever done saw.
Indeed, indeed. When we last left off, you had all come to an inn called the Last Dragon. You had all spent the night only to be accosted by animated wood in the night and a mysterious and haunting child ghost who had indicated that you should go below. You found a stone door that tried to attack you, much as the wood did. You were able to overcome it, only to nearly be crushed by it. Young, or I should say small Tix, was only just able to get out of the way of being crushed and taking 4 points of damage, and now you hear chanting of abyssal below. You all steady yourself and ready yourself to go down below, but before you do, you feel different, stronger, more confident. You have all achieved level 2. Fantastic. So
I'm doing jazz hands.
Yes, jazz hands in the manner of your people. So before we go forward, just real quick, James, could you tell everyone what has changed about Penton at level 2?
Well, he has gained a few meager more hit points, the frail as he is, able to cast a couple more spells, and the magic glow that may have been mentioned last time around is suffused him with some convincing energy to the good types to help convince them of his needs or wants.
And what is the name of that again? I love the name of it.
Wait for it. Nimbus of light, 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 light.
Now at your grocer's freezer. And Tix, what has changed about you as you've achieved your second level?
Well, I haven't grown any taller, but I have gained some hit points and some experience, and that brings me up to an extra cantrip and an extra first level spell.
Excellent. So you are even more divinely magical. And finally, Morezi, what has changed or been added to your character of a second level barbarian?
I don't believe that anything significant has happened, just a little bit of talent reinforcing, and I believe that she now has 24 hit points.
That is correct, and I believe you did gain one new ability as a barbarian, something about dodging.
Oh, yes, dodging. Oh, yes, the slight premonition thing.
Yes,
I wrote it down on her page.
That's quite all right. Our very own Morezi has gained Uncanny Dodge, which essentially lets her able to dodge when she normally would not be able to. In short,
Spidey senses.
Yes, Morezi now has Spidey sense. As a reflection that barbarians can sense danger even when they should not be able to. And speaking of danger, you certainly sense it now as you hear abyssal, the language of demons and darkness coming from below.
Before we go any farther, I just have to say it. Animated wood.
You have lost all your experience, and you are now level dead. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, my goodness, we've gone back 20 years.
Yeah, I didn't realize that this was the Beavis and Butthead episode.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Oh, my goodness.
Now,
anyway,
if you...
I don't have anything to follow that up with.
If you want, Sanar is willing to go first, but that's up to y'all.
Well, I'm always happy for a big shiny thing to go first.
Well,
Yeah, dragon, go first.
Just to clarify, everybody has dark vision. Is that correct? Of some sort?
Does anyone...
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that everyone in this party does, including the two Dragonborn, Dinar and Sanar. You're not sure what class Dinar is. You think perhaps some kind of fighter, but Sanar does appear to actually be a paladin.
Cool.
Well, Sanar is taking the lead then, and Dinar is bringing up the rear, protecting y'all's flank with his longsword as you begin to make your way down. This is a stone-cut passage. As I had said before, this inn was built into the side of a mountain. So it did have a wood edifice, and the part that you were staying in was a typical inn. But this part is clearly going into the actual mountain itself. And you can hear chanting coming from below. And as it winds down the stairs, suddenly Sanar holds you all up. He raises a clawed fist to pause everyone, and he gestures for you to peek around the corner. Does anyone want to take a peek?
Morrissey will let someone smaller and stealthier do that.
I'll go low and peek around the corner.
Okay. You take a peek around, and thank you for go ahead and rolling. What did you get?
13.
All right, that is more than sufficient for the task at hand. What you see going off into the distance opens up into what is sort of a mockery of the warm, welcoming common room that you had seen before. This is a huge antechamber carved into the stone, leading down and down, and in the center is a pit from which you can see no light. But what you can see is above there are torches set into the walls. Now, in the D&D universe, you don't have conveyor belts. But if you did, the closest thing that you would be able to describe to what's happening would be like a conveyor belt. If you recall, the stone itself from the door came out and tried to grab you. What you see is the dwarf family. You see the father, the mother, and the three children slowly moving down towards the pit, being held by these stone claws. And it is going very slowly, but it is slowly leading them towards the pit. Where they're going, there is no doubt. And in the distance, you see a robed figure that is chanting in abyssal. It is a masculine voice, but it is also not a particularly natural voice that you are hearing. And you don't know if that chanting is actually causing the arms to animate, since that obviously wasn't happening before, or if it's simply part of this overall ritual.
Morezi almost calls out, but I'm not the dungeon master, but I'd like to take the liberty of saying that one of the Dragonborn probably covered her mouth.
I will allow it in this particular case that Dinar, who was pulling up the rear and was closest to you, when he sees you start to shout out, he wraps a clawed hand around your mouth, and he goes, "Not now, not now. We've got to think."
Sigh.
But I am going to start a timer now, and if you do not act in a certain amount of time, for starting with the father will go over the pit.
I want to sneak up on the chanting figure and attack it from behind. I would like Morezi to go around to the right and be a distraction along with the big shiny thing.
Now, the figure chanting is on the other side of the room. Now, it is possible, because it's such a big room, that you could get behind him. But what I'm saying is if she's not distracting him first, there's virtually no chance that you'll be able to sneak behind him.
I
Okay.
take no orders.
Well, I can... Go ahead.
I will go around right and distract him, which is my own order to myself.
All right, so you are going to reveal yourself?
Yes.
Okay. You walk out into the chamber, and your armor is clinking against itself, your scale mail, I believe, that you're wearing, and your halberd is glinting in the torchlight. And you do hear the abyssal voice falter and stop as you walk into the chamber. And the voice, it is hooded, the figure, and you hear it say something like,
I wondered what had become of you.
Hey, buddy, you want to get a piece of me? You should look at me and just me. Morezi waves her halberd a little bit, trying to be as physically interesting as possible, if that makes any sense.
okay, could you roll a 20-sided die?
Okay. Oh, I got a 3.
Okay. Well, and in fairness, you do that exactly the way you described. You go, hey, look at me. You should look at me and not at anybody else. And maybe like your eye kind of darts over to Tix as he's trying to sneak around from behind, and the figure just kind of like looks over like, what are you doing here? What are you seriously? And he clearly sees you trying to sneak up on him.
Great. So I am going to speed up my process and make a run at him.
Okay,
How far away is this person?
He's not super well. You do have to get around. Obviously, I'm guessing you don't want to try to get over. No, the pit is far too big to leap over. But that's the main reason. He's not actually, like, as the crow flies, he's not that far from you. But you do need to go around the pit, and that is
Magic missiles certainly don't need to go around a pit.
No pit. Magic missiles don't care about no pits. That is absolutely true. So I need everyone to. Let me just say it's about 30 feet to actually go around, but maybe only 20 feet across. So if everybody would roll for initiative.
I have a 12.
I rolled a 1.
Oops. That
was
was
3 technically, so with my bonus. But
Sorry, it's
okay.
19.
19. Okay, so you definitely go first. And I apologize. Tix, was it you that got the 3?
No, I got...
Oh, it's Benton. Okay, sorry, I missed. And so, Tix, what did you get?
15.
15. Okay. So, Morezi, you go first. Now, you are too far away to attack him hand to hand. Now, you are a barbarian, and part of being a barbarian is that you can run relatively fast. You could spend your entire round closing for physical combat, and you would be able to attack on your next round. Or if you would like to try some kind of ranged attack, you could do that now.
I don't believe that Morezi has anything that could be a ranged attack, as I'm not sure that throwing a knife can go 20 feet, or if she would risk losing this knife, which may or may not have sentimental value, but she always wants to have it. So she will take the turn running across around the room.
Okay. And I think that is probably the right way to go, so I'm going to just say that's what happens. But for future reference, I believe you have a bolo for ranged attacks.
Yeah, but I don't really know how that works.
So we won't mess with that now. And plus, I think your character is the kind who really likes to be down and dirty, and you're most effective up close. So that makes sense for you to start that run. And now we takes us to Tix. Tix, what are you going to do?
I'm going to close the distance also, and as a bonus action, cast guidance on myself.
Okay, and again, could you tell the listeners what guidance does?
Guidance gives me +1 to attack and to savings throws.
Excellent. And you whisper that prayer to Glitter Gold, and you feel the confidence of your god supporting you as you make your way over. And now it is the bad guy's turn. And he turns to you, Tix. Perhaps because you are holy? perhaps because you're closing the distance quickly, and he calls out, and you actually recognize this. This is a smite. He is smiting you with the power of his god. So I need you to roll to save versus magic.
12.
Okay, that is not going to. He was going to hit you regardless, but that would have reduced the damage. And he doesn't roll so good though. But with his modifier, he still does 4 points of damage. So that is a total of 8 damage that you have taken. What does that put you at hit point wise?
That puts me at 8.
Okay, so you are not feeling so great. Of course, he did just smash into you with the force of a dark god, so that does tend to hurt. And that actually brings us to Penton.
All right. As clearly as this creature person is of the evil sort, having witnessed his smiting, I'm going to infuse my magic missile with the power of Bahamut, the good god of dragons, and hopefully, well, definitely, because it's a magic missile, add a little oomph to the shot. So magic missile will fly across the room, doing 4 points, and the power of Bahamut will add another 5 to that for a total of 9.
Okay, you raise up your hand, and as you had all seen before, the energy that comes out, there's a faint glimmer or like an afterglow of the sense of a dragon, almost like something in smoke or in fire that augments this magic missile as it flings across the room and strikes him dead in the chest. It clearly doesn't feel good. He staggers backwards, and his robes are actually smoking from the energy striking his chest. And that actually brings us to Dinar and Sanar, and they are both trying to free the family as they're slowly being dragged into the pit. And they are both expending all of their effort and energy in trying to do so. So that brings us back to Morezi. Morezi, you went into a full run, spent your entire round. You are now approaching this figure at a full run.
Does this baddie look like he's still got a long run left, or like he's very powerful? Or does he look like my normal stuff is going to do the job?
Well, the truth is you just can't tell. He clearly is powerful because he just smited Tix as he was coming towards him. But at the same time, he definitely staggered when he was struck with those magic missiles. So the truth is you can't tell. Plus, he's entirely covered in a robe. You can only get little hints of his body underneath. So it's just almost impossible to tell what's the what with this guy.
Well, then, for now, Morezi is just going to raise up her halberd in a trying to hit him. That is the hit modifier is for this roll, right?
That is correct.
Yes.
Hit.
I rolled a 12.
And is that total?
Yes.
Okay. That is not going to hit. He staggers backwards from the magic missile attack, and then he sees you and he kind of just keeps the staggering going, and he staggers back into the wall. And so you swing forward, your halberd just misses him by a hair. It actually detaches part of the hood in front of him, and sparks fly as it scrapes across the stone right next to where he just was. And now I believe it is Tick's turn. You have been trotting across as well. You are now in combat range as well.
I'm going to take a swing at him. And I hit with a 19.
That most certainly hits.
And that's 1d6. 4 points of damage.
4 points total?
4 points total.
Okay. That is a total of 15 points of damage. And he is badly staggered. I mean, your swing catches him right in the gut. As you can imagine, him
short.
Yes, exactly. As he's backing up to this wall, he, just barely managed that halberd, but then he had nowhere to go. and you came in and just buried your axe right in his stomach. He is not dead, but he is not doing well, at least from your years of experience. You can tell that he's not doing terribly well, and now it is Penton's turn.
Okay. As I'm at a distance, I haven't really moved in. There's not going to be too much I can do. However, I will cast another spell, and I'll throw an acid splash in his direction, which will do a D3 in damage. And I don't believe there's a save on that, similar to the magic missile, and that will do 2 points.
Okay, that is 2 points of damage, but it seems to do the trick, as it were. The acid splashes into him. It eats away at his robe as he falls to the ground, and you see the glint of a red beard. And not entirely to anyone's surprise, beneath you see Owen, the bald bartender / innkeeper. But there's something wrong with his face, and not just that he's been banged up from combat or that he's been splashed with acid. There's something wrong with it. It has a quality to it of like a mummer's play, where the mummer is wearing a papier-mâché mask. His face is beginning to slide sideways. One of his eyes is slowly slipping down to where his cheek should be. Now, I want to be clear. I don't mean that his eyeball is falling out. I mean that literally the entire area where his eye is slowly moving down to the side. The other one is beginning to roll upwards, and you see a seam moving down his body and a sick, wet sound as his body splits from the middle. And out of it comes 2 enormous, like bodybuilder, huge hulking arms, and something rises out of this shell of a man. It is a creature that I am quite certain none of you have ever seen before. Whether or not you recognize it, you can certainly roll for that if you wish.
Sure, I'll roll for knowledge. And I got a whole 7.
Okay.
I'll take a shot. Let's see. That I got an 18.
An 18? Yes. That was Tix, right?
No,
that was
sorry.
Penton.
I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. Yes, Penton. Well, that makes sense with the knowledge that you have gained in your travels. It's actually really unlikely that you would know what this is, Morezi, anyway. But Penton, Tix, by the way, all you recognize for certain is this is definitely a demon. You know that for certain, and you could almost smell it with your training as a cleric. But Penton, you recognize exactly what this is as it rips its way out of the shell of the body and stands up. It has the form of a hulking humanoid, but its head is bald, and it has huge, oversized teeth that make a ghastly grin. And it has these 2 huge, hulking arms with big, thick nails that are almost like claws. But then it also has these 2 spindly, but somehow even more horrifying second set of arms that come out lower in its torso. You recognize this as a Dybbuk. And a Dybbuk is a demon that feeds off humans and is known to inhabit human bodies. And it is raising out of this form, looking down at all of you. And it says,
"The master will eat well tonight."
And I'm going to go ahead and reset the, not re-roll, but I'm going to go ahead and go back to the top of the round. And that would take us back to Morezi.
I think that I'd like to do a certain special move. Where is the information on that? My apologies. I think that Morezi, upon seeing this and oddly strong-looking demon, would like to go into something called a Berserker Rage. You can see blood trickling down her mouth, assuming that she must have used her rather large teeth to bite her tongue, in triggering a chain reaction of physical and emotional cues to make her look a little stronger. She generally has a wild look in her eyes, and her skin becomes a little ashy as the blood draws in to help keep her from bleeding out as she goes into a berserker rage. Does that take up the entire turn, or?
No, that is actually something you can do at will. And it's simply you are now in the berserker rage. And by the way, you will all, the other two of you, just fought in a war where you faced a bunch of orcs. So you had seen orcs in a berserker rage. But this is the first time you've actually seen one go into a berserker rage. And it's not unlike watching someone turn into a werewolf. It's a very startling transformation. And you actually wonder a little bit, like, is she going to recognize us if she sees us? Just in the back of your head as she enters this berserker rage. And it is your turn. You can now attack.
Okay. Unnatural 23. So I believe that will hit.
That most certainly will. Now, was it a natural 20 and then plus 3?
No, it was natural. I don't remember exactly what it was, but something plus 5.
Gotcha.
Damage is... I don't believe that Berserker Rage actually affects the damage.
Oh, it most certainly does, because you get plus 4 to strength. So
okay,
your
that
strength
affects my damage?
Yes, your strength has gone from a 16, which is prodigious, to a 20. So I'm going to need to look that up to be certain, but just for simplicity right now, I'm going to say that that's another plus 2 to damage.
So altogether, from her normal bonus, the roll, and the rage, that is at 11.
Okay, so, just remember that you did, in this one hit, almost as much damage as 2 hits from the previous round. So you just bury your halberd into the thick, meaty shoulder where this huge, giant arm meets the shoulder. And no matter how big and bad this demon looks, that clearly hurt, and it roars at you in rage and pain and anger. And now, Tix, it is your turn.
I'm going to use my 2 innate abilities from my god's domains and cast 2 spells for free. One is Sanctuary, where I cannot attack the enemy, but the enemy cannot attack me. And then I'm going to cast Protection from Evil on Morezi.
Excellent.
And that gives her a plus 2 to armor class and saves.
And as you whisper these prayers, you all see a faint shimmer just kind of whoom in the air before you. And particularly around Morezi, you see a faint golden sheen cover her for just a moment as he says this prayer to Glitter Gold. And now it is the Dybbuk's turn. Unsurprisingly, he actually was wanting to attack you, Tix, because you are the most offensive to him as a demon. But he can't. He can't do it. So he turns to the most obvious target, which of course is Morezi, and attacks. And I'm going to have to get a new dice, guys. This is ridiculous. This is the second 2 that I've rolled today for an attack.
I think it's my favorite die.
I love that
I'm
die.
so mad at you guys. But yes, he's trying to hit you, Morezi, but he's trying to swipe at you with the arm that just got hacked with your halberd. So he's off balance and he can't quite pull it off. And now, Pinson, it is your turn.
Okay, now that we have the final form of this person, I'm going to warm up my other magic missile and stay as far away from this thing as I can, because I feel like one swipe from this thing is going to do me in. So I'm going to once again infuse the light of Bahamut into this shot. Oh, rolls another 4 for damage for the missile. And, oh my gosh, I just rolled boxcars because it adds 2d6. So that's a total of 16 points.
Wow.
That was a whopper.
So this time when you fire, just like before, y'all can see the after image of Bahamut, but you actually hear a roar come out of these magic missiles when he fires infused with the blood of his spell scale heritage. And you actually hear the two Dragonborn. You actually hear Dinar and Sanar involuntarily let out like when this happens, because it just calls to their blood when you do it, and it flames across and strikes into the Dybbuk, doing that. You said 16 points of damage?
Correct.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, he is smoking, which normally you wouldn't think would be that bad for a demon, but this is not the kind of energy that this demon is a fan of. So he is doing rather poorly all of a sudden, and you actually see a slight look of fear in his eyes. He's not quite so confident as he was before. Before he was, you could tell there was not even the slightest doubt in his mind of what the outcome of this battle was going to be. And Morezi, it is your turn.
Oh, yeah. Altogether will be a 13 for hit, or whether or not it'll hit.
Okay.
Damage. I think that was a 7.
Okay, for a total of 7. And I'm going to need to look that up, because I'm wondering if you get 2 attacks when you have your Barbarian Rage. But I'm not actually sure if that's the case or not. We'll have to look that up for next time, but I don't want to slow down the combat right now. And you bring your halberd, you turn it around and bring it straight forward and bury it into his chest and actually push him against the wall. And he lets out a gasp, and you actually see speckles of black blood come out of his mouth. And Tix, it is your turn.
I am going to cast Cure Light Wounds on myself in case I have to go back into combat.
Given that you don't have that many hit points left, so that's probably not a bad idea. Go ahead and roll for that heal.
And a total of 9 hit points. So I'm back to full strength.
Woo! And even though it doesn't affect the combat, you can see that he is actually, like, he kind of winces when he sees the light that comes from your body as you heal, because the goodness of your god is offensive to this demon. And speaking of which, it is the demon's turn. He is going to do something a little different. He is going to charge forward, and he is going to try to push Morezi into the pit. And he got a 14 plus 3, which is a 17. Does that beat your armor, Morezi?
She gets a +2 from the protection from evil.
Very good.
Cast on her.
She does.
Oh, so it does not.
Very good. And also, I believe when you are berserking, there is also an armor bonus. I could be wrong.
So
Oh, no, actually, whoops. When you are berserking, there is actually a -2 to your armor class. So those kind of...
If he rolls a 17 and my armor class is 17, is that a hit?
I can't remember. Is it defender wins or attacker wins?
I believe it's defender win. You have to beat the number.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
sweet lord.
But you're 2 below that because if you're berserking.
Well, no, I'm not sure, but I think the you said that Tix, I think, cast a spell
Right.
on me, and it was +2, and rage is -2, so that cancels out, correct?
Oh, well, there
That's
you
correct.
go. Yeah.
That's correct. So
Boom.
this is really close. So if he had not cast that spell, you may very well be tumbling into that pit. As it is, he slams into you. He is trying to grapple you, but he's not quite succeeded. And you do go backwards, by the way, and you actually feel the edge of your heel on air. Like it's right, you're right on the edge of the pit. But he does not quite succeed, and he does not actually do any damage, in fact. And Pinton, it is now your turn.
Okay. Again, since I'm kind of out of range, I'm going to try and distract him from dealing with pushing our poor orc friend down the pit by shooting another acid blast in his direction, which will do 2 points of damage.
2 points of damage. Okay. It is not enough to kill him, but he is not happy about it, and some of it gets in one of his eyes, and you see his eye begin to pucker and close under the acid splash, and he screams very unkind swear words in Abyssal. I don't know if any of you speak Abyssal, but
Thank goodness, no.
yeah, you probably don't want to hear what he's saying. But that takes it back around to Morezi's turn.
Morezi is going to try to push the Dybbuk away from her. I'm not sure if she's going to need to... I'm not sure that she would even use her weapon at this time, but she does have it in her hand, so I'm not... I think this is the last turn that I'll have rage, so I might want to take advantage of that.
It's 3 turns plus 2 plus a turn per level, so it'll be a total of 5 rounds.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so you're
then
good
never
for a
mind.
few more rounds.
I think I rolled a 7.
Okay,
So-
that is not going to do it. So it's not that you like you fall in the pit or anything, but it's just that he's massive. He's just this huge. I mean, he's like the Rock kind of guy, but more. So it's really more of a question of mass, and you don't have good leverage where you are. So while you don't go into the pit, you're not able to push him off either. And that will actually take us to Tix.
Okay, I am going to go ahead and engage and break my sanctuary spell and take a swing at the demon. And I roll an 18 plus 4 would be at 22.
That will very much hit.
Bam.
And I roll a whole 4 for damage.
A 4. However, that 4 is a total of 40 points of damage, which is enough to kill him. You bring your axe into his back, not because you're trying to attack him cowardly, but because he's barreling down on Morezi. His front is entirely covered with combat with her, so you swing it around and bury it into his back. He screams and falls to his knees, and as you see the light fading out of his eyes, he says,
The master will consume you all.
and he slips past you, Morezi, and he falls into the pit.
I'm going
Is
to
his-
say, because combat has ended, that Morezi is slipping out of her rage enough to say, that can't be good.
You hear a startled cry from across the pit, and you see the two brothers, Dinar and Sanar, and they were desperately trying to stop these arms from pulling the dwarven family into the pit. The problem was that the symbol that they needed to get was wrapped around the bodies of the people that were dragging them in. So they were literally just using their raw physical force to slow them down, but they couldn't actually stop them. But the second that this demon died, they freeze in place. They don't actually meld back into the ground like they did before, but now that they've frozen, they're able to chip them away and get the dwarven family free.
Excellent.
You see that the family is relatively unscathed. Of course, they're absolutely horrified, and the children are crying, and the adults are shell-shocked, as you might say, but they seem relatively okay.
I check them over for wounds and bind any cuts using my healing knowledge and start directing them back upstairs to get them out of harm's way.
Excellent. You shepherd them back upstairs, and you are familiar with the words that need to be said as a healer and as a cleric, and somewhat assuage their fears. Does anybody want to do anything else down here?
Oh, well, we should take a look and see what's going on, and especially with this guy who obviously got either taken over by something or got tangled up with their own crowd, and find out why.
And check his body for any clues or magical doodads that he might have had to cause the wards, the bending, moving walls and stones, and anything to connect to the oozing zombies.
Morezi is curious to see if there's any traces of that weird ghost girl, to see if maybe she led us there to help them or to, I don't know, lead us to our doom.
Okay, and as if by thinking about her, you see her form slowly appear above the pit, and she floats towards you, and you hear her whisper in the softest voice,
"Thank you. Thank you. Below. Below."
And she fades away.
You're welcome, creepy ghost girl.
She didn't happen to look like Owen, like she's his daughter or anything, I hope.
Oh, she totally did.
Lovely.
Owen killed his daughter. I'm just saying it. That's probably what happened.
Or at least the husk of Owen killed his daughter.
Yeah, the demon that possessed.
There is at least a fair chance that Owen was dead long before his daughter was killed.
Can't wait to tell the wife. Let's take a look around the area and see what we can find.
Okay. Well, if you are brave enough to examine the husk of his form, which is, it's not like the zombies rotting, but it is disgusting because it is literally the skin of a human being with a few little bits and pieces left inside. You do discover 5 gold, which you can write down if you like. By the way, do one of y'all want to volunteer to be kind of the group treasurer, just so we don't get multiplication of gold and such?
James, I nominate you.
No, I think it should be anyone but me because I won't be holding on to any of it.
Okay. All right, I'll do it.
Okay, well, we'll make Tix then the official treasure hoarder of the group. So if you would add 5 gold to your tally. You also find 2 more of these weird coins. And you do notice, though, that they're different. One of them looks like the symbols from before, but the other one looks slightly different. Like they're both similar, but everyone that you've seen before looks exactly the same. And one of them looks like all the others, but the other one looks slightly different.
Okay.
All right, I'll carry that one over to the Dragon Brothers and see if they recognize it.
They are just as puzzled as you, and they have no idea what these symbols are or what has caused them or anything. They are just as in the dark as you. Speaking of the dark, you do hear a sound coming from the pit.
Morezi looks up and looks scared.
All right, I'll take a look in, my wizard's detachment and all. And is it too far down to really see anything?
It is deep, but it is not like some impenetrable depth. You think it's maybe about 30 feet down. There is a slight incline on one side. It's not like it was built, with proper tools or anything. Something made this. So it's just so you know, it's not impossible to get down there without having to just leap down. But the body of the demon is gone. It's not there anymore. And down below in the dirt, you see the dirt begin to shift and move. And you see the maw of a creature open, like a giant beak of some monstrous squid. And that's where we'll end today. I hope you all have all enjoyed your time with the 6th episode of Chafing Armor. Make sure and check us out at chafingarmor.com. We got some cool fan art up there. Y'all have a wonderful day. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, and I'm thankful I'm not dead either.
Woohoo! And we will talk to you soon.